Ah, é? Little flip-flop. Little flip-flop. Não, lá. Gente! Não, vocês virem mais pra frente. Um pouco afastado. Aí, ó.
Mas ela faz jazz mesmo, ela faz jazz.
Eu pensei que tava falando dela, desculpa.
Aí tudo bem. Aí tudo bem.
Que passa.
Agora ninguém fala.
So first of all, I want to ask if you mind if we facilitate this session here in English or Portuguese. What do you prefer? English. English. Does anybody have a problem understanding Portuguese? You? So we're going to facilitate in English. Okay. We're almost starting, and what we'll do here. First of all, this is not a session, this is a workshop. Does anybody know the difference between a session and a workshop? No. The main difference is that we're going to have few theory and most of the session will be of exercises and case study. That's what makes a workshop a workshop. Okay? And the second expectation that I wanted to align with you is that we're going to be talking about innovation. But we're not going to be talking about innovation of generating amazing, awesome, extraordinary ideas, but we're going to be speaking about innovation as a competency. I will introduce this concept later on, so if you have any kind of doubt, you can ask me whenever you want. So what's the main objective here? We have the objectives of better understand the definition and meaning of innovation and creativity, and discover how innovation and creativity skills can be developed. And the expected outcomes is people empowered with different and simple techniques that support the creation and innovation, the development of innovation and creativity as a competency. And the second part will be creating small innovation and creativity actions in your daily routine to help you and support you to develop these competence. Great? Fair enough. Does anybody understand what I'm talking about? Okay, great. So what we're going to start doing, everybody has pen and paper, right?
Right.
So the directions are simple. We're going to do the following. We're going to draw houses. Everyone knows how to draw houses, right? Okay, so the directions are the following. You're going to take your pen and going to draw a house. You will have 5 seconds to do that. And when I say stop, you stop. Then I will ask you to do the same thing during about 7 to 8 times. But I need you to be engaged in drawing just in the moment that I say start, and when I say stop, you stop. Great? Shall we start? Okay. We need to draw a house. And every single house must be different than the last one. That was the... So, can we start?
Are we supposed to draw flowers as well?
No, it's just a house. Just a house. Huh?
Guys, you have instructions during the
Yeah, just one house at this moment. And I'm going to start by saying start now. Start drawing.
5 seconds.
5 seconds. Stop. The second house should be different than the last one. And you should be starting now. Stop. And we move on. Start. Stop. And we go forward. It should be different than the last 3 ones. Start. Stop. Start. Stop. Start. Stop. Start. Stop. Start. Stop. Great. How do you feel? And I'm not expecting an answer of excellent. Can I see some of your drawings? Okay.
Vai, mas dá uma nota.
What conclusions did we get in this exercise? Did you get any conclusion from this exercise?
Because it was getting harder, and I was doing like the same, but the house, can change the shape of the ceiling and the shape of the house. Keep it round.
I think if you look at everybody's drawings, like almost the same thing. I think we're not creative enough to draw something that's completely different from a house, as we know, but it could also be a house, you know?
Are you trying to compare this to something else? Or are you trying to compare this to something else?
Not specifically. Just wait 1 more second and I will explain the answer.
I think that the mini stops that you gave in one after the other, and the first stop, the second house, I got it wrong, and I had a stop, and then I redrew the same house, and then it was really good because I was drawing like crazy because of the time, and then you said stop for 2 seconds, and when I go back and redraw again, my mind was like full of ideas.
And what really made me frustrated is that because I couldn't draw the house perfectly, it was like all wrong and the ceiling was all like bending.
When you say, okay, I'm going to say go and stop, and then let me think about the usual sense that we must have, because I was drawing a house but thinking about the next one that I should draw also.
So, explain the dynamic. First of all, it's all the points that you said, already mentioned about making it fast, thinking about the next one, and how I'm going to innovate in the next step to make the things differently. But the main thing is, if you compare within each other, you will see that the first five houses are almost the same. It's a ceiling, and then you have the walls, and then you may have a window, and it's like the typical house, which is this thing, right? Like everybody, 99% of people draw that kind of house, the starting point. But if you notice, in the 6th round or the 7th, you will start noticing that most of you start to draw things that are actually different. For example, you can find tree houses, you can find fabrics, you can find igloo, something that you can find something that I don't know what it is, but it's supposed to be a house. So what's the message here? It's proven that when you push your brain to work and making the same things one time and another time, you are getting more expert. And you are getting more expertise within this thing, and you start to evolve and innovate in that process. So the main idea here is, innovation is something that you develop, and it's something that you push your brain enough to innovate and to start thinking about new ideas, about the same processes, and about the same things that you do on your daily routine. So it's as simple as drawing a house, and it can be as complicated as innovating in one process of your own company. But the main idea is you need to train to innovate. It's not like you have the capacity to innovate or you don't have the capacity. Every single one of you has the chance to innovate through all the processes. So, can we go on? Okay. Go on. And so, what's innovation? We go forward. Okay. Innovation. Innovation is a competency that indicates an effort to improve performance by doing or promoting new things. It can be cultivated, and it cultivates new approaches to accomplish goals and solve problems, and usually makes the people go beyond conventional and demonstrate the willingness to try out different solutions. So this would be the main definition of what a competency of innovation is. And the main usage of this competency is to solve problems in different ways. Most of the people, when I put one case, will solve that case in the same way. But if we start thinking and trying out one more time and one more time, I promise you that we will get to different solutions to the same problem. Things to avoid during the 1 hour workshop. Good ideas just happen. It's like the most common sentence that you will hear about innovation. It's like, it was a good idea, but it just sparkled. that's bullshit. Actually, a good idea is the result of a lot of different elements that came together to create a new and great idea. And the second part would be avoid getting caught in the mind trap that innovation is an aptitude, not a competency. Aptitude means that some people has it and some people don't, and you can develop it.
I was going to ask about the cat.
Because it's ugly. So you need to avoid it. Okay, things to keep in mind. The following techniques are techniques that are proven to be real successful to generate new ideas. But are techniques that what they do is take a general base of ideas and co-create by mixing them in creating a new solution. So the idea is to make them. Can you go back one more time? Yeah. So the idea is to have a direct impact in your daily operations. And the second part would be these techniques are highly effective. However, they need to be backed up with a rich knowledge in the thing that you are talking about. So, for example, if you are solving a problem regarding finance, for sure these techniques will help you trying to find new approaches to that problem. But you need to know about finance to actually apply these kind of techniques. And having said that, disclaimer, we can go with the first one, which is, the first technique is called challenge assumptions. And what this is about. For every single situation that we have a set of assumptions. For example, I have one specific situation, and because I lived before that situation, I start to create kind of mindsets regarding that situation. So automatically, my brain will drop an answer to that problem without actually thinking about new possibilities. So it's the same that happened with the house. Because we know how the house is, we don't even force ourselves to think about different kind of things because we already know what is a house. And it's something with wall, with a window, and with a roof. So what we're going to do is, the process of challenge assumptions is, first we have a situation. Second, we're going to identify the Legos. I'm going to explain that later on. The third part will be challenge the pieces. And finally, you will take a new decision upon that situation. Here's how it works. So we have one example. You want to buy a house, but you can't since you assume you don't have enough money. And that doesn't allow you to pay the wall. What it means to identify the levels. We have one situation, and we're going to try to identify which elements are directly affecting that situation. So the main element that affects that situation is not having enough money. Then we have other assets that may affect that problem also, and if we think about them, we could discover new solutions. So what are the other elements? We have other assets, we might have retirement fund, and we may work overtime. So this would be the three other elements that we could analyze. And challenging the pieces means, for sure you don't have enough cash in the bank to sell some of to pay for the loan, but you may work extra time, or you could sell other assets to raise that money. So it's kind of simple. The great part of this technique is try to challenge every single thing that we take for granted. And by doing that, we're going to generate new ideas. So, what we're going to do? We're going to try to apply this process to this case. And what this case says is, visit Tunisia. You are on vacations in Italy, and you want to go to visit Tunisia. But you can't, since you assume you will have enough time to come back to Italy and take your train to France within 72 hours. What will you do? So you will have 5 minutes to try to answer that case, and you go back to the process. Trying to apply this question, this kind of technique, which is challenge assumptions. It is clear what you have to do? Clear, not clear? Did everybody understand it? No? Okay. You have a case there. And the idea is that you can apply this technique of challenging assumptions to solve this problem, which is the one that you are going to Tunisia and you don't have enough time to go and you think that you have to go back within 72 hours. So the idea is to apply this whole process to that situation. Yes? Can we try? Okay. So you will have 5 minutes to try to answer that case, applying the technique of challenging assumptions. No, by yourself. was able to solve this case, or at least try to? Can you share with us?
Yeah. First, I think that take a the city spot to take a train from Tunisia directly to France, or maybe try to reschedule the agenda, or use the sleep time to travel between the places. Then you're gonna sleep and gain more time, or even use another way of transportation like the scooter.
That's exactly. First, the challenge here relies on time management. It's differently from the one that we saw before, which the main challenge was about money. So, if the challenge here relies on time, you can play with anything else regarding money, how do you go from one spot to another. So you're free to choose which kind of decisions you're going to take based on what is the variable, which is the limit. And here, the one is time management. So, within this process, you will analyze and discover that there are two different ways to go to Tunisia, from Italy to Tunisia. If you have some kind of general knowledge, you will discover that Italy is here in Europe and Tunisia is just below because it's on the northern part of Africa. So it's a flight of maybe 1 hour and a half from Rome. So it's really near. The second part would be try to challenge the assumption that you need to go back to Italy. You may have the option to go directly from Tunisia to France. And in this, by doing this, you will have enough time and maybe even more to spend in Tunisia than the time that you had before, which was 72 hours. And if you keep searching or keep challenging assumptions, you might discover that going from Tunisia to France, it's even cheaper than going from Tunisia, going by train from Rome to France. So what was the whole idea here? We're going to have a lot of situations, and the following ones are cases also. So the idea is here. We're going to have one example. We're going to have one technique. Each technique has one process, and it is to try to apply that process to that specific situation. It's okay? So I feel you're kind of dying here.
No.
So let's try one more time. The second technique here is thinking in reverse. And what it means to think in reverse. If you feel you cannot think of anything new, try turning things upside down. And instead of focusing on how to solve a problem, maybe we could focus in generating even more problems to that situation. So here's how the process works. First, you're going to write down the problem statement. What it means to write down the problem statement. You're going to write down the thing that you want to solve. So for example, if I have a situation with client satisfaction and it could be client satisfaction, I'm going to write down how do I increase or improve my client satisfaction. That's the problem statement. The second part would be reverse it. So instead of thinking about how I can improve my client satisfaction, I'm going to brainstorm regarding how I can make it worse. And that's the third part, brainstorm about more problems to the problem statement. And finally, the theory says that maybe when you have all the problems, you can choose one specific problem and reverse it one more time, and you will have one new solution. So it's kind of simple. We will see one example. So Luciana is the manager of Health Clinic, and she has the task of improving patient satisfaction. There have been first improvements initiatives in the past, and the team members have become rather skeptical about our meeting on that subject. That's the situation. Luciana thinks carefully about the problem and writes down the problem statement, which is, how do we improve patient satisfaction? Then she reverse problem, and she writes down, how do we make patients more dissatisfied? This is the second part. Then, what we have? After brainstorming about this situation, we get to the conclusion that what piece of the clients and the patients are these things. Double booking appointments, removing the chairs from the waiting room, put the patients who call on hold and forget about them, have patients waiting outside in the parking lot, and discuss patients' problems with the public or in public. Okay, so what's next step? We're going to choose one specific problem of these elements. And here we're going to choose the fact of making the patients wait outside of the hospital. And what was the conclusion? She says, what about in the morning? There are often patients waiting outside until opening time. Then one of the member says, that's true. That's pretty annoying for people on first appointments. What they think about. So, why don't we open a waiting room 10 minutes before so it doesn't happen? And they come to the conclusion that, right, we'll do that from tomorrow on because there are several members from the staff working already. So it wouldn't be a problem. Did you understand the logic of taking a problem, writing down the statement, reverse it, trying to brainstorm more about that problem, and try to pick one element of that problem and reverse it one more time? Yes? If you're not understanding, please let me know because I can try to speak either in Portuguese or Russian or Spanish. But I need to know that you are still alive. Okay? Tá. Vou explicar de novo agora em português. Vai. Tem um processo. O processo é, temos um problema, uma situação chata. A gente tem um statement. Temos uma statement que a gente quer resolver. Nesse caso aqui vai ser, as pessoas estão chateadas contigo porque você não faz bem o seu trabalho. Você quer incrementar e fazer a satisfação deles um pouco melhor. Exatamente. Aí o que me preocupa então é a satisfação do cliente. Eu coloco o statement que é como eu consigo melhorar a satisfação do cliente. Mas eu não vou prestar atenção sobre aquele problema. Na real eu vou procurar como eu faço ainda pior aquela satisfação. Aí, quando eu já tenho aqui meu statement que é como eu faço ainda pior a satisfação do cliente, como faço com que o cliente fique mais chateado comigo, aí faço um brainstorming disso. Eu escolho um dos processos que faz com que ele fique mais chateado ainda, e aí eu tento reverter isso de novo. E na teoria, eu posso dizer na prática, já usei essa técnica várias vezes, dá certo. Você consegue encontrar soluções diferentes para problemas que são muito comuns. A ideia de aplicar essas técnicas aqui é aplicar essas técnicas para problemas que são normais. Você não enxerga talvez como desafios gigantes, mas que podem fazer uma diferença muito grande em um processo pequeno. Agora sim, melhorou ou ainda estão mortos?
Eu acho que uma ideia que talvez possa facilitar essa coisa assim. Quando tu multiplica no menos 1, digamos, tu reverte, tu sempre sabe o que tu não pode fazer. Né? Então, tu não sabendo o que fazer, eu acho que tu consegue tirar essa coisa.
Então vem o case número 2. E para garantir que todo aquele coleguinha está dormindo, acorda, a gente vai fazer essa dinâmica em grupo. So, the case number 2 is the following. It's about product selling. What it has this situation is you are a junior facilitator of one of the most important learning and development companies, and you have the task of delivering one training for the senior managers of one of your prospects. This is a one-time chance to sell your leadership development program, and you know that they have already rejected 2 other proposals from from other competitors. So what would you do in this situation? Todo mundo entendeu o caso de estudo? Pode ser? So we're going to make groups of 5 people and make a small circle. And so you will have 10 minutes to solve this case. Can we go on? Yes? Okay.
Você sabe que eles já tiveram 2 registros em cima desse programa. Então, você sabe
Não pode fazer. O que a gente vai ter não
Mas aí nesse caso a gente vai deixar.
é uma coisa que você não.
Você não vai
decorar isso aqui pela
isso aí, se preparado para a reunião que fazer o que empresa quer, o que empresa é. Ali não está até mesmo.
Ai, cala a boca!
É geral da empresa que corre.
Aí você não tem
Essa daqui não funciona. Eu acho que eles têm foco.
Terminaram? Chegaram a uma conclusão? Most of the groups? Who didn't finish? How much time do you need? 1 minute? Okay, 30 seconds. 2
Vai, eu tenho, nossa.
Shall we move on? Okay. So, who wants to share with us the possible solution for this case? Okay.
First, we just put out some problems that could make the things even worse. First, being late or don't show up, don't bring any sales material, dressing and acting not properly, and lack of preparation. And then we chose one of those, the 4 topics, the one, lack of preparation. And then we try to solve this single problem. Knowledge about the client's needs. First of all, prepare properly to the meeting. Knowledge about the client's needs. Knowledge about personal info, background on the client. Research on the other 2 proposals that failed. And deep knowledge about your own company, showing why they need you.
Great.
We saw, we got here many possibilities, but the one we thought it was better is show cases that went wrong, that would make even worse, and so we decided that show good cases. There are cases that went really good, it would be a nice solution.
So what was the whole idea of this technique? The first is identify what's the problem or what you want to achieve. In this specific case, what you want to achieve is sell your leadership development program. That's the whole thing that you need to address. And afterwards you do what these 2 groups did. Try to brainstorm on what would make that sale be unsuccessful. So can we move on to the last technique? This last one is about it's about shifting perspectives. And over the years, we all build certain type of perspectives, and this perspective builds a certain type of ideas. So it's like you're building mindsets, and you give the same answers to the same problem. What we're going to do is play If I Were game. Have you ever played that game of If I Were? Who played it before?
Well, I think it's very depends if you're playing with if I were being like somebody else, or if
Yeah.
I were being, I don't know, more structured, or
No. If I were another person or something specific. So we're going to try this. What this technique is useful for? It is useful to identify what to keep in mind while making the decision on some specific situation, to identify the traits that you have better need to address a specific challenge, or to identify characteristics that others have and you could use to support you in solving that situation. So here's the whole process. First, we have one situation. Second, we're going to select a character. Third, we're going to identify the traits of that character. And finally, we're going to apply the traits of that character to the decision making. So here's how it works. You need to write down an essay for your literature class, and the score you get will determine whether or not you pass the class. So what would you do? That's the case. Then we choose one specific character, which will be being a millionaire. But we're going to identify the traits of being a millionaire. So if you decide to play the millionaire, you will identify that he has big thinking and and risk-taking when formulating an idea. There are two specific elements that are like specific traits of one person, which is Miller. Then you apply that traits and that characteristics to your decision making. And the result would be, you decide to write down an essay of a fairly known novel, even when you know that your professor loved the classic ones. You're aware that it has to be outstanding, so writing about a fairly known book is a risk, but also means an opportunity to score a 10. Did you understand the logic of your case? Agora foi em português. Certo? Vou explicar rapidinho. O que acontece? A gente vai pegar esse último caso, a gente vai escolher uma pessoa que vocês gostariam de ser para resolver aquele caso. Então pode ser qualquer tipo de pessoa. Vocês podem escolher, por exemplo, um milionário, podem escolher Tiger Woods ou qualquer pessoa que vocês achem que seria interessante ser para resolver aquele problema. O importante é que vocês consigam identificar quais características desse personagem fazem ele único e que vocês usariam para resolver aquele problema. Certo? Ficou um pouco mais claro? E agora temos o case aqui, que é o último, aí a gente vai um pouco rápido porque a gente está ficando sem tempo. You are the public relations chief officer of a well-known multinational company, and you have to organize an event for the 25 years anniversary. The company is well known for throwing amazing theme parties, hosting elegant cocktails, and organizing events for charity. They have done everything in the past, and your boss wants something unique. What would you do? Então a gente vai fazer o seguinte. I'm going to pass and give you some paper, new paper, to all of you, and you're going to choose in the first side who is the character that you are going to be. And you list all the traits and characteristics of that character. And in the down part of that colored cardboard, you're going to write a solution and how the traits of that specific character helps you to make the decision making of this problem. Okay? Por exemplo, se vocês escolherem ser um milionário, não vale colocar de característica, ele pode comprar tudo. Tem que colocar as características que fazem ele ser um milionário. Então, por exemplo, aí tinha a característica ser criativo, elegante. Triste. Porque falou de mística. Uma pessoa saindo toma riscos. Já sentiram? Vou colocar desencanado. No colégio Ah, tem DST hoje, não tem preconceito. Ainda não liberal. Someone finished. At least there's two people sharing.
someone running the shoes.
Hey Isaac!
I would just like Steve Jobs, because he's a leader, he creates new tendencies, and in all the products, he can engage their team into it. It has no problem to change things inside, and it can keep it simple and think different. So the event that will be a new event, it will be like simple, but not so glamorous, but outstanding. With something new, something totally different, but that will be cool, and it will generate a new vision, a new model, a new tendency of this kind of event, and it will be a success.
Great.
I think the job is also for other reasons.
What traits?
The characteristics.
Yes.
Basic thinking, like thinking, innovation, and keep all the clean and simple. So I have a result, I have a theme for the party, for the celebration. It's a celebration that will focus on 25 years. So all the employees will take pictures from them of the age of 25, and also idols and or cinema and music to share, to decorate. The theme of the party will be this.
Okay, we chose Samantha from Sex and the City. But it's true. She's a great public relation, and she's bold. She's really bold. She's innovative. She's brave. She has like a young spirit, and she's different from other people. So we realized that she has a great network, and the people she would bring to the event would contribute financially, and the status of the event would be greater and more visible. So we thought she would be a great choice.
Great. So, just for finishing the session, there are some ways to employ enablers. This means some ways to trigger even more creative ideas. These are techniques that support you in the creation of creative ideas. So what do we have, for example? Creating blocking time. This means, for example, you can go and walk outside, or you can take a nap, or you can listen to music. Do whatever you feel to do in order to generate new ideas. The second enabler would be change of environment. It is proven that someone who stays in the same room for more than 4 hours, it's unable to generate new ideas. So, for example, if you spend a lot of time in the office and you want to create different approaches to the same problem, my suggestion would be go outside or go to any kind of cafe or something different to make sure that you are going to be able to bringly generate new ideas. And finally, fun and humor is the best way to be able to generate new ideas. And that's one thing that we do like all the time at the MC. When we want to generate a new strategy or we want to generate a campaign, you can maybe imagine that we sit and we start thinking and we get bored for like one day doing that thing. But actually what we do is we pass through one process of listening to loud music, start to search in YouTube random videos, like you will see something like, have you ever seen Eu Sou Rica? That kind of videos, and you will see it in the conference. So do any kind of things that will make you feel comfortable enough to generate new ideas. And just for general conclusion, I know it was kind of hard, you are tired, the communication was kind of going so-so, but I would give a suggestion for you to take this material. I have even more material regarding these techniques, because these techniques are developed by the McKinsey consultancy to give trainings on how to solve problems. So are really good when you know how to apply them to current situations, that could give specific and unique approaches of uncommon problems. So if you're interested in know how to innovate in common situations, please come with me and I will share with you all the material and even more. And if you have questions, we can speak in Portuguese, so that will make even easier communication. So thank you very much, and that was all.